Hi everyone, welcome to our MIMUN online training videos. I'm the Arturo Rivera, Undersecretary General for Committees.
And I'm Mariana Olvera, Deputy Undersecretary General.
Throughout this video, we're going to help you understand the committees department in our conference and take full advantage of everything this training has to offer. Let's get started. So for the first part, we're going to be briefly introducing MIMUN, the conference, and what's the committee's structure. Um,
Well, since 2013, MIMUN has been the International Mexico City model of the United Nations. It is part of the Mundo organization, and it has been growing a lot since the last few years. We are now having plus six cabinets, plus six committees, plus 20 schools, and more than 50 staff members to be around you during the conference. Um, in Maimon, we work with three different groups. With the delegates, you're assigned to either a cabinet, which is the national uh, cabinet for a national government. The head of government is moderating this debate, and it's usually informal. Whereas committees are more formal, and the standard format is formal debate. So today we're now focusing a little bit more in committees. We have two types of committees. We have historical and present day, because each year the conference selects a year and a theme for historical debates in which the content is addressed towards a specific event. Committees and cabinets are adapted to the region and the sectors involved in the discussion. And present day committees are a wider range of sectors and regions because they're constantly updated in the topics discussed. You can either talk about economic, social, and political committees, although they're all intended to fit into the most specific topics if possible. Um, yeah. Also, Mundo has a different way of working. We have a different award policy, different from the traditional MUNs. We regard those who attach to their national policy and those who align to where um, the country has to go, to where the country thinks in the real world, and not necessarily because of how many times they raise their placards to talk. We also have the rules of procedure we call the ROPs, which we are going to see a little bit deeper later. And we also have an international press delegation, which is the international press talking about what the committees at MIMUN are discussing. And also we have a news station called Telemundo, in which you can always see the updates of the discussions taking place. During the during the sessions, you will have at least four staff members with you. You have a political officer in charge of managing the content of the debate. He or she supervises and guides delegates into the political positions during the debate. Also, he works along with the delegates in the writing of draft resolutions, revises resolutions prior to the approval from the chair, and solves any questions regarding questions and political positions throughout the conference. Also, the vice chair is in charge of the roll call at the beginning of each session, and he or she monitors the voting status of each delegate. He or she tracks the motions requested on the floor, manages speeches and motions and its time limits, oversees the use of rules of procedure, and solves doubts from the delegates regarding protocols, and co-moderates the debate with the chair. Finally, the chair coordinates the correct follow-up of the rules of procedure. He or she maintains a good flow in the debate, keeps up to the conference schedule, coordinates the security and wellness of the delegation as a whole, checks and approves a resolution, and co-moderates with the vice chair. Last but not least, the sergeant at arms oversees the security of the committee assigned and is in charge of external communication between different committees. He will she uh, will be responsible for health related issues as well and will moderate from time to time. Remember that every staff member in MIMUN is assigned or not to you to your committee, are always available to help you to solve any inquiry or issue that you may have. Please don't hesitate and approach any of us. We will be happy to help.
As Mariana said earlier, we're going to go deeply with this training on points and procedural motions and, in general, the ROPs for MIMUN and how do they work and how do they help you with your committees and your debate. Um, so, as a general scope for how the debate flow should go during the conference, um, so the first that's going to happen is that the dais will call the meeting to order. Then we're going to proceed to the roll call, which you could be like the member states have to be present and voting, and non-members present. And then you have to choose a topic. There are some motions that we're going to review after this slide that can help you with this. During formal discussion, points and motions can be drawn to the chair, and delegates raise their placards to suggest any of them. Second is usually required for this, so please take that into consideration. And then for the closure of the topics, if you want to speak about something else or if you want to change the agenda, you can do it as well by using some of our motions. And you will be asked to explain in both cases why is this necessary. So during MIMUN, you'll have a short form of our rules of procedure. These lists will help you to understand the precedence of each motion and why and what are the requirements. Some of our motions are debatable, which means that two speakers have to speak in favor and other two have to speak against. And these to explain and to try to convince the whole committee on why you should vote in favor or against a certain motion and which ones can interrupt the speaker. So remember to only use this as a last resource and for urgent and relevant matters. All motions are calculated based on the quorum, and some of them require simple majority, others require three-fourths of the committee, and some only require a second. So also take that into consideration. Here you can take a look at what does the short form looks like, and it's always found at the back of your placard. So always remember that it is there. So moving on to points. Points are requests made from the delegate to the chair to address a personal issue. We have four different types of points at MIMUN. So we're going to review each one of those. Um, One of the most popular ones is the point of order, which indicates a misapplication of the rules of procedure. So probably when a delegate is speaking about something that it's not in the topic, or when there is not being like a consistency in the how the way our motions handle, you can raise a point of order to point that out. We also have a point of parliamentary inquiry that is used to ask a question to the chair regarding the rules of procedure only. You could submit this through notes and then you don't have to interrupt the debate. There's also a point of personal privilege. This one is used when the delegate feels that his or her ability to continue to debate are interrupted. We also prefer for you to use them through notes to the chair, so this way we can address them more personally. And then there's a point of information that could be used to ask questions to the delegate following a substantive speech, and it may only be used during the remaining time of the speech. So for this point of information, both the delegate and the chair should follow a specific dialogue. So when the delegate raises a point of information, the chair will respond. Will the speaker be accepting points of information? The delegate that spoke previously would have to agree, and then the delegate which which rows. The point of information will have to say, will the chair please direct the following question to the speaker? The chair will say so directed, and then the delegate could start to ask questions. Just as a brief reminder, there is no follow up to these points of information. And if you want to have a deep debate about this delegate speech, you can always ask for a motion of a moderated caucus to consider this topic to discuss between all of the delegates in the committee. Moving on to procedural motions, these motions are requested from the delegate to the chair and they are used to take an action during the committee and the debate. We have three types of motions, which are procedural motions, substantive motions, and special motions. Procedural motions are used throughout the whole conference. They serve as tools to ease the debate and adapt to different situations. Substantive motions, on the other hand, are used for the writing and editing of documents, and special motions are used in specific cases during the conference. They are used commonly only once per conference. So for procedural motions, they're normally used to know what to discuss. These are four motions that could be used to select or to change the topic you're discussing. So the first one you need to remember is a motion to consider the agenda item. Um, and this one is to choose the topic that you want to discuss as a committee. Once this motion passes, you have to start debating only and exclusively about that topic. And if you want to change it or you feel like the debate is stagnating and you don't seem to be going forward, you can always table the agenda item. So you could change the topic and start discussing something new, probably something more relevant to the delegates within the committee or something that requires urgent decision making. After that, you can always motion to reconsider the agenda item. So to talk about the item you previously tabled, this motion can only be used by those who voted on favor of tabling the agenda item before. So please take that into consideration. And then for the novice committees, we have another motion, which is the important questions in the General Assembly. And these are used to not necessarily at the beginning of the topics, but this is used to um, clarify and specify that this is a really important matter to the General Assembly and that it should be taken really into consideration and with urgent needs. Now we're going to move on to the motions that help you on how to discuss. Um, as you know, and as Mariana mentioned earlier, we have a formal debate, which is normally used at the beginning of the committee. But after that, we can use different motions to change the type of debate that we're using. So a common one is a motion to open a speakers list, which is used to present individual positions or proposals with a limited time for speeches. So these are the speeches that we were mentioning earlier that each delegate uses, and then some points of information could be brought to the table or to the floor to further discuss this previous speech. Then the most popular one in MIMUN and the one that you delegates like to use a lot is the motion for a moderated caucus. This one is used to ease the debate into a quicker and more dynamic dialogue between the delegates. Speeches are not time limited, however, the motion is. And then another one is a motion for a suspension of the meeting. These suspensal committees function for a specific time. You may know this one as an unmoderated caucus. So basically, you're allowed to stand up, talk between each other, and not in a formal way. And this may help you with the writing process of documents and other uh, things that you have to consider to make a resolution at the end. Another procedural motion that we have is a motion to establish quorum. Um, These can be used to push for roll call to determine the quorum to allow delegates to announce voting status. When using this motion, the committee will be sealed by the sergeant at arms, and no delegate can go out and no delegate can come in. Um, this is normally used to like reestablish the quorum and to be sure of who is voting, and for you to start taking accounts and making calculations of how is the resolution going to be voted after the motion is passed. And then we have other motions to help you to change or to improve your debate. There's a motion for a participation of a non-member, so which basically does is that you invite a guest that may have full rights or limited rights to your debate, and this can help you if you want to clarify a specific question that the whole committee has, or that if you want more information regarding a certain issue, you can invite always someone to further explain. You can decide as a committee if you want this non-member to have limited rights or full rights, which will grant him or her the ability to vote. A motion for a closed session is a motion that seals the committee for private discussion. No person may enter or leave the room. All those who are not staff or delegates from the committee are expelled by the sergeant at arms. So to pointing out mistakes or correcting them, you have two different motions. One is a motion to appeal the decision of the chair, which is used when a member wishes to overrun the chair's interpretation of the rules, and this motion should be approved by our Secretary General. And then you can always withdraw a point or a motion um, that you proposed earlier, and you can do it through a note or through a point of or through a point of order. And then the last two motions that we're going to be reviewing are the motion for an adjournment of the meeting, that is the one that closes the annual session after the committee's work has been completed, and the motion for closure of debate, which ends substantive debate on the agenda item and moves the body immediately to the voting procedure.
Moving forward to the third type of motions, we have the special motions. These are used only for a certain time during the session, and it has precedence over all motions. This means that whenever one of these are proposed, the chair should prioritize them. So you may have seen in the last slides that Diego exposed that you had a special motion tag. Um, so these the special motions that we have are motion for the participation of a non-member, which Diego explained is for external guests to make speech or to solve any inquiries that the committee may have. The motion to appeal the decision of the chair is to overturn the chair's interpretation of the rules. In case you do not agree with them, the motion to divide the question will be explained in the next video of substantive motions in a deeper sense. This is to highlight a particular section of the substantive document only in the writing of a resolution or draft resolution. Um, the motion to adopt consensus, is only used only after the debate has closed. The motion to establish quorum is to request a roll call, as Diego explained. The motion for a closed session to have a private discussion, and the right of reply, which you request through the point of personal privilege, uh, is used so that delegates can explain themselves after being offended or not agreeing with a personal mm, with a negative comment their about themselves. We will explain that later. And well, this is it for today. Thank you very much. Don't forget to watch other videos in the delegates trainings. We also have explanations for the topics that you will discuss and the substantive motions and writing of resolutions. Thank you.
Thank you.